fish, Popeye.
No, baby, it's a school night.
You're a school!
Julian, your mother is not a school.
I am, Mom. I'm full of classrooms. So many clocks in me.
Get to your room. Get out of here. Go, 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 go. Don't listen to him. If anybody's a school, it's Julian.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Cheesy Cinema Club. It's been a long time coming, and it finally came. It's me and King Protus back at it again, actually talking about... Yep, there he is. Actually talking about real Kino, not that wannabe fake Kino that everyone else just uses, froze around, like it's a stupid meme or something. This is the real stuff.
We're not here to talk about Batman. We're not here to talk about Spider-Man. We're here to talk about the little man. That's right. Suburban males in America.
Yeah, suburban white wives in America. And what does that mean? What does that mean? Oh yeah, today's film is Greener Grass from 2019. And I gotta say, I really liked it. What did you think? What was your initial impressions?
I really enjoyed. Oh yeah, you can also. I'm Jim, by the way. Also.
Yeah, Jim or Protus. I'm gonna flip flop. I don't think about it.
Or Jim Protus, as is written on my birth certificate.
Or Jodist.
No. No, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was very fucking funny. Like, I can't think of the last time I watched like a comedy that I was really like enjoying and laughing at. And some of the gags in this movie, like, I was just obsessed with. Like the dad in the pool water. I know I'm already bringing it up, but that.
Oh yeah.
the pool water thing is like one of the funniest recurring gags I've seen in a movie. It's so fun and fucking good.
There's some bits in this movie that, like, I guess spoilers for people. I also really liked it. I think my favorite thing about this movie was like the dialogue. I love the way the characters talk in this movie because I've just been a big fan recently of kind of like stilted like dialogue or like kind of like weird dialogue. I saw someone describe this movie as like how aliens think people in suburbia act like.
Oh, that's
right?
So perfect. So I have like a fan theory that all the characters in this movie are aliens. That's like my like cartoonist YouTuber like fan theory. Just because, yeah, like you're right. The way everyone behaves, it's like a weird imagined version of how like suburban Americana is.
Like, if I were to try to describe it, it's very like this might be a meme phrase, but like I wouldn't say ironic. Like I wouldn't say this movie is like an ironic movie. It's way more sincere.
Yeah.
Right? Because like characters will just do incredibly weird things and act like it's normal, right? Like no character really points out if something is weird. Like it's like characters can be convinced that the weird stuff going on is just something kind of normal, right? And I think one of my, like, I guess the movie like literally kind of just starts with kind of like the weirdest. I guess we could go a little bit more in the movie. From this point on, it's like spoilers. But I really do love the opening of these just two women just like talking and they're watching a soccer game. And I also, they do this reoccurring thing like at the beginning. They do it a couple times like later on throughout the film. But I really love it when like there's a shot of a child or just one person.
Yeah.
And it's like a horror movie sting plays. Every time like a kid shows up, like it's like a droning noise.
I think they do that like I don't know what the actual sound is, but they always do it when like a knife is pulled. They do like that like shing sound a few times, I think. It's really funny.
Yeah, but when a kid is like on screen, they do that, and it's really I love that because I love movies that kind of like really like try to give you the worst feeling ever. Not the worst feeling, but like the weirdest feeling. Like, well, I don't know, what am I supposed to feel?
I would say this movie is very successful at that. There's a part like in the third act that I was like feeling very weird about. I think we'll get to that when we get to it. But but no, yeah, this movie has like I think I'm kind of with you. Like I guess you'd call this more of like a slice of lifey kind of like comedy where it's not really like there doesn't really follow like a B and C or like a straight line plot. It's just kind of events happening, and I just really love like the world that the movie creates, and that's like I think the kind of media that I like the most are when like the creators make something that's like a really interesting world, and we just see a lot of like little random characters in it, and just kind of doing things with each other and interacting. I always enjoy those stories the most, and this movie like totally nails that for me.
And I don't even like. I feel like obviously this movie's like a satire, right? But it's not like a. It's not like there's no real punchline, you know? Like it's more like a sincere satire, or because none of the characters are like ultimately the butt of a joke or something, you know? They seem to just kind of exist. This seems more like this is like a segment of these like people's like lives that we have covered, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only thing that kind of works as like a through line is like the stalker subplot that's going out throughout the film, right?
Yeah, which I honestly think is kind of the weakest element for me. Like I understand why it exists because you kind of need like the movie really wants that horror element, but I think the kind of eeriness of the interactions and the way that the one woman was kind of stealing the other one's life, I thought that was kind of like,
oh yeah.
I thought that was more effective than like this weird stalker character. I don't know, but I think it was still like well utilized, especially in the first half of the movie. Like there's this like, oh, this looming threat of like, oh, there's danger in the neighborhood kind of thing.
They keep talking about this yoga instructor who got killed by a supposed like bagger at a grocery store, right?
Yeah, and this is like just cutting ahead, like one little like background gag that I loved was in the grocery store after the murder, there's like a bunch of security guards there. There's like constantly standing there, and there's a sign on the wall that says like Eagle, like I think it's called like Super Eagle Supermarket has no guarantee for loss of property or life or something like that. And, like, I just love that like the management put the sign up. Like,
not gonna lie, after I was done watching the movie, I really want to rewatch it. Actually, I feel kind of bad I didn't rewatch it for this podcast, but there were like way more like background gags like that, because in the classroom, in the background, there's like a little paper like dunce cap character, and the head of that character is like the poster for the girl who got murdered.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, like her poster appears in like a lot of places. There's like a lot of like weird mini things. Oh, I also love the fake commercials in this movie.
Oh my god, yes! That immediately when I saw that, I was like, oh, Cheesy's gonna love these.
Oh yeah,
the kids with knives one was fucking incredible. It's just like I love the idea that there's just a TV show called Kids with Knives, and it's all these like 9-year-olds that just like have like different kinds of knives, and they're just posing around. It was so fucking funny.
I love the bit where she's at the grocery store and what was it? She tells this other woman that her son can't come to like a event they're having, and she's like, oh, why? He's like, oh, well, because your son told my daughter that Popeye's butt gets big and eats spinach. And we don't like that profanity in our house.
And her reaction was so funny. She's like, wait, well, does it? Does Popeye's butt get bigger when he eats it? Which that was a very funny gag. It really worked for me.
I do love that joke because it sounds like a fucking bit we would do in a voice call. I'm not gonna lie.
It really does. But so I think maybe we should try and like because there is kind of a bit.
There is a story here. Yeah, there's a story, and the movie's more like vignettes almost, but like there is something. It took me like maybe until the middle of the movie to kind of realize like what's kind of really going on. How okay, wait, let me, because I forget the characters' names.
Okay, I know all the characters' names.
What's the name of the blonde lady? The tall one. What's her name?
So her name is, oh my god, I wrote it down. Hold on.
Is it Lisa?
Yes.
No.
So that's Lisa. The tall blonde one is Lisa, and then the main character is named Jill.
Right. And they're friends in this like weird suburban satire like neighborhood, right? Where everyone rides golf carts, by the way. No one has a car.
Which is very funny because I know that there's actually one of my friend's brother actually lives in a community in Georgia that people don't have cars there. Everyone has golf carts, and like everyone just drives golf carts everywhere. So I was wondering if maybe that was kind of inspired in that element by that.
That's so weird. I didn't know that existed. I thought like to me, I thought that was kind of like a country club kind of angle. Like, oh, this is an exclusive neighborhood.
Yeah, I think I think everyone is supposed to be like decently wealthy here. Like we don't see anyone that's really like low class, like for like a suburban mindset.
To be honest, this might sound kind of wrong. This might be clipped. I was surprised there was black people in the movie. I thought they were gonna really go for that like, oh, just white people angle, but no, there is like I'd say half the background characters and like one of the more kind of like supporting characters are black in this movie. And
Yeah.
that's yeah, I thought they were gonna just go straight with everyone just white because I mean that would have worked, but I guess like what are they gonna do? Not like let black people not have a job on set or something? I guess that
Yeah.
would have been weird.
I think that's like a really difficult decision for like a crew to like them to make. Like I understand why they would like why that would be an idea of like, oh yeah, so many of these suburbs are just like very white dominated. But yeah, you're right. At the same time, it's like that would be kind of fucked up to and
yeah,
like
exactly. Like, oh,
also
no black extras, please. Yeah.
also not like totally representative too, because I mean like there's a certain like it's very common to see
oh yeah,
like,
there's wealthy black people.
like neighborhoods that
Mm-hmm.
have like more diverse neighborhoods and such. But um the so yeah, as you said, like the two main characters are these
Jill,
yeah, Jill and Lisa. And so they're both like soccer moms essentially. That's kind of like the hook of this movie, is that they're both married, like they're both happily married, they both have a son, and the whole thing is like Jill has a baby, and Jill like is like hanging out with her baby, and Lisa's like kind of a little jealous of it, at least initially. And kind of like the first so actually we didn't even mention the braces.
oh yeah.
So
Every character in this movie had braces. Well, everyone who lives in this like I think a suburb has braces.
yeah, I was really like looking out for it. I think the one thing I couldn't tell, I don't think the kids do. I wasn't sure if I noticed the main boy is named Julian, like her son.
Mm-hmm.
And he like he actually, I think he's in the first shot of like he's just being very bad at soccer. The kids are young. They're like in second grade. So they're like kids. Like they're not really supposed to be like
they're not teenage. I mean, they're kids. They're like maybe what 8 or 10 or something.
yeah, they're not really supposed to be at that like kind of rebellious teen level. They're still supposed to be like firmly like kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to think. There's so many other. I'm looking at my notes. Like I just have so many other things that I really like the movie with.
Well,
like,
I guess we should talk about like the big thing that kind of happens at the beginning is that Jill has her baby and Lisa's like, oh, she's beautiful, and then Jill looks at her and is like, oh, do you want her? And just straight up asks like, do you want her? And she's like, oh, I don't know. It's like, oh no, you can have her. And then like he's like, yeah, but isn't it like your baby? And she's like, no, I mean, no, she's just bonded to me because I gave birth to her. But she'll get used to you. It's so like
that one bonded line. I was like, I thought it was really funny, but the way she worded it, I like had a kind of a. I wrote a note down because she said like, oh, I just bonded with her since I've been with her since she was born. And the wording with that, I was like, oh, is she actually the mother? Like, is there going to be some kind of weird twist about like none of the parents, like all the parents are like, I don't know, abducting kids or like switching kids. But then later on, she just admits that she did give birth to this baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I did think there was gonna be a twist like that, but I thought that the twist was gonna be that because both of them have like they have a son, but I noticed that Julian like his parents have like darker hair, but he has like blonde hair. While
Yes.
Lisa and her husband both are like blonde, but their kid has like darker hair, and I thought that the twist was gonna be that they switched sons at one point.
Yeah, I thought that too. Also because for me, like the big clue was so once they like after that scene when she like gives her the baby, Jill returns home with Julian and she notices that Julian like peed in their little like car when on the way home, and so he peed sitting down, and we learn the other family's last name are the Wet Bottoms. So I was like, is this really like I felt it was obviously a joke, but like I was like, are they really setting up for was Julian originally the other family's kid and they gave him to the main character's family? but they really don't do anything with that, actually.
Yeah, it's so weird. And now I think about it, there's like another family that has like twins, right?
Yeah.
And there's like they keep bringing this up with the twins that like, oh, don't bully your brother. Remember, you sat on him in the womb. And it's like those little lines that like they give. I think the kids like have some of the best lines in this movie.
The kids are great. The kid that plays Julian is really funny with a lot of his little lines. Like, there's a part where he's playing catch with his dad, I think shortly after this, and he's just really fucking funny. This kid is really good.
I love the part where it's like his dad's birthday party and his mom like makes him go to the bathroom because he's constantly like wetting himself, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "We're not leaving this bathroom till you pee," and he's like, "I never have to pee. I don't want to pee. I can live here."
Yeah, he's like, "I love it here." Yeah, really, really good kid. And it's like, I don't know, people always have strong opinions about child actors, but I thought this kid was really good.
I think it worked because everyone here acting is already like stilted and weird, so the kids could be kind of like off, and it still works, right? So just probably like the easiest film to film with kids, maybe. That's my guess. But if you notice, me and Protus have kind of like a struggle going for beat of this movie because it, like I said earlier, everything kind of feels like vignettes, and in my head it's all almost like jumbled together because they like remember when they go to that restaurant, like that French restaurant.
Oh
and
my
everyone
god!
has like these kind of like obvious like mime outfits kind of things. Right?
Yeah.
And they're eating and they're talking like I think they're talking about like, oh, Julian, he's in rocket like camp and
rocket math. So he's like an accelerated math course.
Mm-hmm. And like Lisa is like obviously like jealous of that her son isn't in this. Well, because they apparently did take a test for this like in March, but like it seemed like her son failed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like very upset. And then after this, like two waiters, like they do like probably the fakest trip ever. And
Yeah.
They drop all the food, and it seems like they're gonna cry.
Yeah, they
right?
behave like children. They like freeze up and they put their hands over their mouths, and the one is like you're not gonna tell anyone, are you? Like, and I think one of the moms is like, it's okay, and then like. The mimes leave, and then the two couples just get on the floor and start eating the food off the floor. It's so insane, and like that mime scene like fucked me up because I was thinking the whole time of like, what is happening? Like, why are people behaving like this?
I want to watch this movie like high because I feel like that would make because that moment will fuck me up a lot. I also and you mentioned this earlier, but this dad has this like. There's this one part, I think they come back from like the soccer practice, and Jill's like in the kitchen and her husband comes up and he's like, "Look, try this." It's like a jug of water, and she's like, "Okay." She tried it. It's like, "It's good, right?" It's like, "Yeah, it's fine." It's like, "Well, that's pool water." And his obsession throughout this whole film is that he loves how the pool tastes, and he's all like, "There's no chlorine in it. It's fine. It oxidizes. It's pure and natural."
It's so fucking funny that like the way that it starts off is like it's almost like, oh, is he pulling like a prank on his wife? And then he's like, I think I prefer it. Like he starts like, yeah, he exclusively drinks it. You always see him walking around with like this huge jug of water that he got from the pool. He makes like a popsicle out of the pool water, and then there isn't like any flavor. Great. It's just like a popsicle of water, an icicle.
That was great. I'm glad they did the popsicle joke because it's kind of like, how else can we have this guy just really love this water? Oh, he makes it into fucking popsicles.
It was such a great like use of a recurring gag because as you said, like that could have easily just been like, oh, this guy, he drinks pool water, haha. But it was like, no, he is like actively thinking of like how many ways can I consume this pool water because I love it so much.
I also like, and that's kind of like. I had a fucking point about so that like obviously him like loving the pool water is like some sort of commentary, right, on like this kind of like I guess suburban need for like to have a pool to kind of upgrade your home and impress your like neighbors and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But like they kind of turned the dial up to like 11 in this movie when they do stuff like that. because it's not that he's like, oh, it's like one of his like kind of character flaws that he's obsessed with this pool. No, he is just obsessed with this pool, and it's not like necessarily like it's not like it doesn't ruin his relationship.
Yeah.
He just really loves his pool, right?
It's just like something that's extremely important to him. And yeah, the other thing too, like we can talk about like his relationship with Julian, which I guess is probably one of the more like commentary aspects. But yeah, no, you're right. Like it is just like a very funny gag, and it's just like a thing that he's obsessed with. I don't know the name of the actor that plays the dad, but he was so fucking funny to me. Like every like one-liner that he had, I thought was great. I mean, I thought the cast was all really good. Like the taller woman, Lisa, that voice that she does, like that like sort of Valley Girl accent, is so funny. Like all the time, and how like mean and bitchy it is. It's so fucking funny.
Oh my god, she's so fucking tall in this movie. Holy shit!
I know she's towers over all the men.
I wonder if like if they like made it like emphasize how tall she was. Like maybe she's not that tall, and the movie just kind of like is making her seem bigger than she actually is. But it's so like it kind of like, oh god, it's kind of scary almost, because her husband's like not that tall, right?
Oh yeah, her husband who was in the Ghostbusters movie, the new one.
Oh, was he like, wait, was he like the bad guy in that movie?
He was the bad guy. Yeah.
That's so funny. I love how he looks in this movie, like his little like kind of blonde fro, kind of like pompadour thing he has. What is that?
I love this guy. I called him. I don't know what his real name is, in the movie, but I just wrote down male wife every time I referred to him, because he's basically just a male wife.
I think another joke that was really good was like when they're at the barbecue and they start kissing their husbands, but then they stop and like, wait a sec, wait, wrong husband, you guys. Oh my god, and they just switch husbands.
Yeah, and it's so, that whole scene is crazy because they are standing next to their wrong husband for so long, and what the main character Jill,
this is the first time we meet their husband, so we don't know that like these aren't their husbands, right?
Which is a really good gag for us as the viewer. But yeah, so kind of the going on, like we talked about a lot of the early scenes. One of the other scenes you mentioned was there's one of the other women in the neighborhood is getting a divorce. And so she's the mother that has the two kids. The one kid was sat on in the womb, and she mentions this at least 3 times. And the one time she's like, yeah, your brother came out. He was blue because he was suffocated. And it's funny because you look at the kids, and she was saying, oh no, I forget the kid's name. It's really funny. It's like this really long name, but it's just like, oh no, he has a weak heart. Oh, he's so small. He looks almost identical to the other kid, like in every way.
Yeah, I looked, and I'm pretty sure one kid is slightly taller than the other, although I can't remember correctly. Oh man, I also like the bit with like to kind of show like, because what I like about this movie is that it's like, yeah, in real life people get divorced, and the husband, sometimes husbands enter a very weird phase in their life, after the divorce. Like they find different ways to find themselves, and the running bit with like the divorced husband is that like she keeps commenting like, he's really into cowboys now. He's really just dressing like a cowboy. And he's dressing like a fucking cowboy at like this kid's birthday party. He's like in full cowboy attire. It's
the part when he like because he packs his little like golf cart up to like leave. Apparently he's living above the post office. That's what they refer to it as.
Oh yeah. They bring that up like twice.
And so when he's leaving, he puts a cowboy hat on, and it's just really funny because, yeah, it's just teased, and then you see it.
So, I gotta ask you. Let's get talk a little bit about. I guess it's so hard to talk about the main plot of this movie because we keep like just talking about vignettes about how like little jokes, but like. I really love how like this whole movie is basically like Lisa is absorbing like Jill's life, right? Like she's consuming her life like very slowly, and it starts in like with the baby obviously, right? But then it like I think what else? Oh, like her son is like taking her place in like rocket camp because oh yeah, Julian turned into a dog, by the way.
So yes, about halfway into the movie, I think we mentioned already, like the dad's birthday party, Julian falls into the pool, and he comes out a dog, and it's hilarious because every character still treats him as Julian, And they dress him up, so he's always wearing like, so this dog, this golden retriever, is always wearing like a shirt and shorts. But yeah, it's so funny.
And like this is the part, and I think you mentioned it briefly, like the relationship between Julian and his dad like kind of changes. Now the dad is like super interested in Julian because like the way he describes Julian, the way he describes Julian is like, oh, he's so fast. Like he's talking about him like he talks about him like he's gonna become a pro athlete. Like, oh yeah, my son the athlete. He's gonna win all the big games, but he's literally a fucking dog.
Yeah, it's so fucking funny. It really is just hilarious. Like I love the scenes where he's just playing with Julian, and like there's a part where they're at like a bowling alley, and he's trying to like, he's like, "Hey Julian, be careful. I'm worried about you slipping around because you run so fast."
I love it when they're at the soccer game and like the referee is kind of like, oh, is this dog your boy? And he's like, yeah. It's like, well, you can't be in the game. It's like, why not? Well, you can't kick.
He can't kick. Yeah. He accepts that it is Julian. He's like, oh, that's Julian? It's like, yeah, well, he can't be in the game.
And then after that, there's like this one bit that I thought was pretty funny where like after the referee leaves, like Lisa's like, oh, I can't believe I dated that guy, and then her husband's like imitates what the referee says, and they laugh so hard at this like imitation that they do. You remember that scene?
Yeah, that's really good.
Oh, I love scenes like that. Oh my god, I wish I could write dialogue like this. I probably can if I give it a try. But this is really like, I've been a really big fan recently of kind of like characters saying weird shit to each other, but like other characters not acknowledging how weird like what they said to each other is.
Yeah, there are so many little lines in this that have that energy that I love so much. Like the one part before Julian turns into a dog and the dad is like frustrated that he's not like athletic, they're like playing catch, and Julian like messes up, and the dad runs in and he's like furious. He's like, "We're wasting our money on baseball." And I just thought that was really funny that he would say that.
It kind of reminds me of, I was trying to explain this to my partner, like how this movie feels, and it's kind of like, it feels like almost like an extended like Tim and Eric skit.
Yes.
Almost, but it never like gets like, because Tim and Eric skits tend to end up pretty gross later on.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie never gets like super gross. I think maybe the grossest thing is probably I mean, if you consider pool water gross, that's pretty gross. But like the extended kissing scenes that happen at the beginning are pretty like nasty, because they get really close up to it and you hear it and you can see them like slobbering on each other.
Yeah, the kissing scene felt the most Tim and Eric because it was like very stupid looking. Like the kissing action was really like exaggerated and stupid. And also another thing too, one of the jokes that probably missed the most for me is when they're at like a bridal party or no baby shower, and everyone takes a bite of a sandwich, and then they all throw up this like pink goo at the same time, and then they all pretend like that didn't happen, and they just talk about how good the sandwiches are.
I thought because they all like puked out the same color, I thought it was supposed to be some sort of like gender reveal party kind of thing, because we forgot to talk about her. So there's this one scene, like this movie does this thing where they just do one weird thing and they just kind of run with it. So like they're at a soccer game, and I think Lisa gets jealous of Jill. Like I forget what Jill mentions, but she gets jealous of it. So Lisa, like while everyone's distracted, grabs a soccer ball and just puts it under her dress, and Jill comes back and she's like, "Oh my god, Lisa, you're pregnant." It's like, "Yeah, I know." And her husband shows up like, "Oh my god, Lisa, you're pregnant. I'm so happy." And everyone just acts like she literally just put a soccer ball under her dress and is pretending to be pregnant. And then everyone's just running with it. And they even have the little baby shower. And there's a joke later that when she finally gives birth, it's kind of like, well, it's like the water didn't even break. It just kind of popped out and bounced on the ground. And when he flipped on his side, we saw his name, Wilson, on there. And they're like, "That's a perfect name." And then they say this one comment that's like, "Oh, but isn't that like Tom Hanks' son?" Like, yeah, we can use that name. You're right. And then Jill's husband suggests like, "What about Twilson?"
And then his name is everyone refers to this fucking soccer ball as Twilson. Like, yeah, I just really appreciate, like, this feels like a movie that I would have seen like made, I don't know, like over a decade ago, maybe like when I was in high school. I remember I started to like really look for like weird movies, And I remember seeing a lot of kind of nothing like this weird, but they kind of like do the parody or the satire of like the suburban lifestyle. But this one just really like commits to it, and like with the whole like soccer ball baby, because she's literally cradling a soccer ball. Like they dress it up in like baby clothes. It's crazy, and nobody talks about it. Like, so another kind of weird like theory I have is that I think Lisa kind of like can see through the bullshit of the world, because there's like a lot of there's like a lot of bullshit that everyone just kind of like internalizes and accepts, and Lisa kind of uses it to like her advantage to like she takes the baby and keeps it, and then like there's a funny gag like about halfway in where Jill is like, hey, I don't want to be like an Indian giver, and then she's like, hey, you can't say that. And she's like, all right, I don't want to be a Native American giver, but can I have the baby back? And then so she's like really resistant, and like
she says I remember her exact lines being pretty funny, where she's like, I'm not gonna give her back. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, like, did I offend you? And she's like, yes, I feel very offended that you asked me that question.
Yeah, it's like she's so manipulative, and even though she's the one that's like being like the worst person, she's still like redirecting that at Jill, and it's just it's very funny, but it's also like And then the one thing at like the very end is like there's like a little thing where it's like they're back at the soccer game, and they see that there's like flowers everywhere on the field, and Jill's like, hey Lisa, have the kids always played soccer on graves? And she's like, oh yeah. And they just like don't like, Lisa's just like, yeah, they always have. So I don't know. I feel like Lisa's kind of like a little more savvy or a little more wise than Jill, so she's able to because like the other things that happen basically. So yeah, after Julian gets turned into a dog, Jill kind of spirals because she's like very sad that her son doesn't exist anymore.
There's this one joke that I really like where she like the dog, like it's supposed to be Juliet's like piano like practice, but like he's just sitting there, like the dog can't play the fucking piano, and the dad is just watching him like licking his like pool icicle pop, right? and then Jill notices that in the frame which had the picture of Julian is missing, and she's all like, where is it? And like he's like, I don't know, I didn't take it, why would I take it, right? And the thing is that what's really funny is what the dad said was like, well, think of it from Julian's perspective. Do you think he wants to be reminded about what he lost? How it's not normal. Right?
I really like that line. I was like, that is actually a really good like answer to that.
Yeah, everything is just so weird. Oh god. It's I remember someone I think said like I forget the exact phrase they used for this, but said like very David Lynch, but I think not exactly like in a David Lynch kind of way, but almost, like almost, it's like a bunch of different things like mashed together, I feel,
Yeah, it's kind of like the more quirky David Lynch turned like all the way up, and like the darker elements kind of they're still there, but they're definitely toned down a bit. I actually do like that. There's this reoccurring thing where like Jill has like a stalker, and it's implied from like, it almost feels like it's implied that this stalker is like the murderer. It's like the handbag grocery murderer, right? And I think what's pretty funny, and like I thought this was pretty funny. I don't know how you feel about this, Jim, but that the stalker is like talks to themselves when they're stalking, and they do like a weird silly voice, like he's like doing that. What did you think of that? That was really creepy. So the stalker character is probably the one element that like is the weirdest for me, because like I couldn't tell if they were doing like a big man dressed in like a lady scare thing, because like that's kind of a
that's kind of like where that leads to, right? Like that's like the climax of that thread.
Yeah, and like Yeah, we see like I think before. Oh no, wait! It's after Julian turns into a dog. The stalker is like in the house, like he's literally in the bedroom, just like watching
Oh,
Julian.
there's like a massive. It took me a second. Like, what is that? What is the thing he's in? Because at first I thought he was like he shrunk down and made himself tiny in a dollhouse, but no, that dollhouse is like huge. It takes like half the room, right? I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, I thought they were just doing some weird perspective trick, but no, that was like a full huge like front dollhouse just in his room. And the stalker is in there doing the little like orange in the mouth trick that Julian did at the start of the movie.
Oh yeah, that was a little callback.
Yeah, that was like creepy. The whole encounter with that stalker was very like when Jill like gets in and then the stalker's just dressed like Jill, pretending to be Jill, right? And the stalker convinces Jill that actually this is my house, not your house.
Yeah. Okay.
And she buys it.
Yeah, that was the other thing too. So yeah, like Jill literally doesn't understand who she is because she like the stalker says like is dressed as her and whatever says like, oh, like I'm Jill. So Jill runs away, but Lisa, all-knowing wise Lisa, is able to go and she deduces, oh, this is not Jill. So that's why my fan theory that Lisa is actually
self-aware of like this weird.
Yeah.
I want. Is there a piece in your fan theory of why that may be? Like, why is like Lisa the all-knowing one? I guess.
It's just because she's so tall.
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna fucking say that shit.
Invader Zim rules.
Yeah, exactly.
But so yeah, I think I kind of want to just like go through the plot really quick so we can just talk about more like scenes, just because like some of it is like hinges. Like we already talked about like the thing at the end, but so yeah, everything goes down. One of the big scenes we didn't talk about that happens like right before Jill kind of the stalker like takes over Jill's life is Lisa is like, hey Jill, you're really sad, aren't you? And she's like, yeah, I guess I am. She's like, you should divorce your husband.
Oh yeah.
So she just literally walks over to her husband and just like throws her ring at him. She's like we're getting a divorce, and it's like very freaky that this woman is just so.
She's just convinced that like this divorce, like needs to fucking happen. It's
like immediately, like it's not even like I'll talk later. She like immediately. And it's so funny too when they sit Julian. So Julian's a dog at this point, and they sit him down and like, Julian, we have some news to break to you. We're getting a divorce. And then she's like, do you have any questions? And then the dad is like, I have questions.
That was good. That was a good part when he said that. Then doesn't she? There's also like a whole bit where that leads kind of to the stalker taking over the house is when oh wait, the Julian dog sees the stalker in the bedroom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but also the part where like Jill went to go get like a haircut.
Yes.
Right, to like fix her hair, and her husband comes back to the house just to refill on pool water, right? And Julian's there, right? And he's like naked, and like by naked it's just like a dog.
It's a dog.
It's
just
like a fucking dog, right? And he's like, "Oh, you're naked. You're by yourself. Where's your mom?" And like, because of that, like it's framed as like Jill being a bad mother.
Yeah, and she's like, Lisa's like, Jill, I think you should really like, you should not be watching over Julian. Like Julian should stay with his father. And then that leads to her kind of having a breakdown, which that's when she goes back home, and the stalker is now like wearing her clothes and like screaming that she's Jill, or that the stalker is Jill. And so that causes Jill to like lose her mind. She takes her little golf cart and kind of she drives into the country, which she actually this scene. So she removes her braces.
Oh yeah.
In this scene, which looked very painful. So I just full disclosure, I never had braces, so
I did.
I cannot relate, but they seemed very uncomfortable, and the forceful removal looked very painful.
Yeah, I never tried removing my braces. I had a doctor do that, I guess, but I assume I don't know. I don't know why they would have to. I think that could happen. I mean, that wire is supposed to be incredibly tight, so if you do cut it, I do imagine it could like cut your gums really easily, right? because that's like what happened with her mouth when she cut them, right?
Yeah.
But this next scene is probably the most kind of like we I feel like learn a little bit more about this reality, right? Because
Mhm.
it's like Jill kind of meets like a normal person, and I don't know if you were paying attention because I wasn't paying attention, but do you know? So what happens is that Jill goes to this old house, and she knocks on the door, and there's a woman there, and she has like her like little like face mask, like because she's like doing I forget the skincare treatment,
Yeah.
and Jill says to the lady that this used to be like her childhood home, and she was wondering if she could just like step in, right? But,
So she specifically says, "I want to sit on the toilet to think," because I used to do that as a kid.
and she's like, no. And this lady also has like a bunch of kids, and I don't know if you could tell, but did that lady have braces or not?
It was really hard to tell because you can only see it really when people smile.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was looking out for it and I couldn't tell because like the woman is very weirded out, so she doesn't really smile at Jill.
Yeah.
But I think the implication is that she didn't, but it's hard to tell.
I think, yeah.
Oh yeah, because like in that scene and then the scene right after where we see a few more people, like kind of like civilians in the background, we don't really get a good look at like their face.
And I think it's implied this is kind of like more the real world because like due to the fact that lady didn't agree, because I feel like someone in the suburb where she came from would have agreed to that, like to her to just sit on the toilet, right?
Probably,
But,
yeah.
Yeah, but like to her, and she said no. It's like okay, and also due to the fact that it's like you have a lot of kids. You mind if I have one?
Yeah.
Right, and then later she's like, no, and then she like closes the door and she walks to her golf cart, but then it cuts to her at a diner with one of her kids.
Yeah, she totally abducted one of the kids.
Yeah, she straight up kidnapped a kid, like a little like black girl, right? And then she's like watching like the news, and like the stalker was like in her home was apprehended, right, by Lisa, right? Like Lisa knew that wasn't Jill, and I guess it gives you the evidence that Lisa's a little bit more self-aware about this weird kind of like suburban satire universe they live in, right?
It's funny too because what Lisa says, like she's like the clue that gave it away is that this imposter Jill said she was gonna put her children to bed, and she's like, and I know Jill doesn't have any more children.
Oh god, I love that. I love how cruel she is.
She's such a bitch. I love a blonde bitch. What can I say?
Did you get a chance to watch that other short film they made together, The Arrival?
Yes, I did.
Because like in that like the actress for Jill is also kind of like shit on. Like she's also like the target of like getting her family taken over.
Yeah, I think we should also mention. So yeah, I watched both short films. So there actually was a short film made before this called Greener Grass. That basically, it's kind of like,
it's basically all the
plot
scenes
outline.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
All like the big scenes we talked about, like the scene where she gives the baby away, the scene where the kid turns into a dog, the part when she puts the soccer ball under her dress and pretends to be pregnant. Like it basically hits those points. But I think the movie like is elevated for having like a bunch more characters and also just a lot more scenes with them.
I really love the production value in the movie. How they did a pretty good job of making sure everything was consistently like bright and colorful and fake, like fake. And like it's making me think about like, is this suburban neighborhood supposed to be some weird kind of like dollhouse-esque universe?
Oh.
And maybe the fact that maybe this the Lisa the tallest theory where maybe Lisa is a human and Jill's like a doll, right? So that's that's due to the fact that Lisa is just taller, because a human would just be taller than a doll, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything around her is kind of like manipulated in her like favor almost, Well, like if something seems wrong, if the dolls seem like they have their own lives outside of like Lisa, she could easily correct them by just telling the dolls to do so, because they're under her like whim.
The dollhouse thing makes so much sense too because like so randomly, it's so random. Julian just turns into a dog. It's just like when you're a kid and you lose your toy, but you're still like but I lost my Spider-Man toy, but I'm just gonna take like this little like stuffed animal I have, and he's gonna be Spider-Man now. and
Mm-hmm.
this little teddy bear is now Spider-Man. So that is actually that's a really clever like kind of reading on it, I think.
Yeah. I wonder if because I tried to look up like kind of more. Maybe I probably should have just looked up interviews with both actresses, Jocelyn DeBoer and Don Lubin.
Who were the
right?
directors? Yeah.
Yeah, who were the directors? Actually, what did you think about the whole fact that, because you're the one who told me this, that the short film was directed by a man, but the movie was directed by the two leads. What do you think about that?
I think that the movie had like a really good look to it.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the way the movie looked. I thought it was pretty clever because you can tell it was shot on it was a lower budget movie.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, as you said, like the color, the set design, the costuming, I thought was really good. Like they always
Oh
have
yeah.
these really lavish, crazy costumes. Like I don't think that uh Jill wears the same dress in two scenes, and she has these like
Mm-hmm.
huge, wacky dresses.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Oh
and I thought it was
yeah. Go
cool
on.
because like they had written the story originally. Like they're credited with the story in the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I don't know. I think it's really good. I definitely think normally I like shorts more than movies in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
we have like a story to tell. We're gonna tell it. But with this, I thought like it really benefited from having that extra runtime, getting to like
Oh
really
yeah.
explore those characters.
Because I think where the short ends, the movie keeps on going for another like 30 minutes. Right.
Yeah, the short really teases the stalker element like a
Mm-hmm.
lot compared to the movie and does almost nothing with it to the point where it feels like an undeveloped idea. Whereas in
Mm-hmm.
this, there's like this whole idea of like, oh, like Jill is just totally being replaced by like everything and her life is just going to hell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I actually I did like the little kind of side bits where the jokes with the yoga instructor dying, and like went at her kind of like her little memorial service. She it's like yoga instructor, like what was it, grocery store clerk, and like ex-girlfriend is also on there too, because they like at that memorial service is her ex-boyfriend with her new girlfriend, and like they asked him like, oh come on, get up there and say a couple words. He's like, oh okay, and he's like, well, I only dated her for like 2 months, and then he starts saying that like, but if anything like that happened to my new girlfriend, I don't. He starts crying like, I don't know what I would do. He just starts crying about potentially that his new girlfriend could get killed.
Yeah, like
Right.
scenes like that are so good because that is a character that we did not see before, we did not see afterwards, but he left such an impact because that scene was so funny.
I also like the sister when she's like clearly like just throwing her sister under the bus, but doing that like kind of like in a like the backhanded compliments kind of stuff. Like oh yeah, me and my sister, she would borrow my clothes. Now I'm way skinnier than her, so she would borrow my like more stretchier clothes, and it's like calling her fat.
And is yeah, at her wake, like at her sister's wake, she's like making it all about her. It was very funny.
Oh yeah, fuck. I love when characters do that. I love it, like I've been really digging like selfish like asshole characters who make it all about themselves. I've
Yeah,
been
it's
watching
just
a lot of Aqua Teen recently.
oh yeah, that'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like this movie's really good at that. Like when a character's on, you pretty much know their deal like immediately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Damn.
Oh, we didn't actually talk about like the very very ending. So like after Jill like abducts this child, she brings this child back to the soccer field during a
Mm-hmm.
game because it's like, oh, now that she has a child again, she can engage in the social activities that all the other mothers do. And
Oh, okay, yeah.
and so she's like kind of having like a back and forth with Lisa again, and Lisa's being like as bitchy as normal. And Lisa talks about like, oh yeah, come over later. You can take a dip in the pool. And she's like, but wait, you don't have a pool. She's like, oh yeah, since you like ran away when that stalker came in, we just like went to your house and took it over. So we live there now with your ex-husband. And at the very very end, you see that Jill, even though like is homeless now, or well, she's actually not homeless. She's like living in Lisa's house. That's what they say.
Mm-hmm.
But so Jill is totally like everything's been taken from her. You see the braces are starting to grow back. Like you see
Ooh.
like the little bits of braces are like starting to come back through. So yeah,
Ooh, I didn't even notice that.
yeah, it was like ooh, haunting final visual.
Right, and I think I've been kind of debating in my head how if I like how do you feel about the ending because it kind of just cuts like the movie just ends, right?
Yeah, I think it was like maybe 20 minutes left in the movie, and I was like, how are they gonna end this? Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
no way that she's getting her life back. Like, that's just not in the cards for her.
Mm-hmm.
So I really did think it was just gonna be like, oh, we're gonna get either her going on like a murder spree, or we're gonna get like a crazy twist. And we kind of
Oh, okay.
we kind of did get a twist, but it was more just like, oh, this woman is like, her life's horrible now, and she just has to like
Mm-hmm.
accept it.
I it I'm looking for the Wikipedia because it mentioned something I forgot where I think after Jill realizes that the kids have been playing over like a grave of like have been playing over a grave, she stands up and she like declares that she needs to get out of here, but then the referee gives her like
Oh,
an out of bounds and Jill just sits back down, right?
yeah.
And it's very like, huh. It's like, damn, is her destiny just to be like tortured forever by Lisa? It's so I feel like I need to like watch this movie with like an AFAB individual. Get the AFAB perspective maybe on this
Yeah,
one.
honestly, yeah, I kind of I feel like because the filmmakers are women, there's probably a lot that they are bringing into it from that. Especially like
Mm-hmm.
there's that whole sort of it's very like gender roles. Like gender roles are very like defined in this movie. Like the women
Mm-hmm.
are like always wearing dresses, similar to like one of the other shorts that you mentioned. I think it was called The Arrival.
Yeah,
Um,
Arrival. Yeah.
like it's very like gender role based. Like it's very
Mm-hmm.
class. It's almost kind of like 50s in terms of like fashion and like ideals. Uh,
Yes.
so yeah,
And
I think it definitely is like trying to make a point about like how these rigid structures are like harmful for people.
it, yeah, and how like maybe some sort of commentary on middle class leeches, like you just leech off of each other almost. Fuck. Oh
Mm.
wait, okay. There was this one small detail that kind of happens. Like I think when at the beginning of the movie when Jill goes back to her house, and she's like unpacking like groceries, like her husband like goes up there and says like, are you wearing your panties over your neck? You remember that line?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then later Lisa like I think it's Jill husband again like at his birthday party. She sees that Lisa's like, "Are you wearing your panties over your neck too?" Like she said, like she's just like copying like Jill, and that's kind of like the first. That's like I guess foreshadowing like what's to come, right? Of this like slowly consuming of Jill's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, go on.
oh, I'm just trying to think. There's so much to talk about. I mean, the movie's really good. Like, I've obviously highly recommend it. I'm just thinking a lot about so Lisa's son. His like initially he's just kind of like I guess presented as a normal kid. He's like
He
not
he's
too
kind of
weird.
he's kind of pressured. I mean, he is kind of like Julian to be pressured to do these extracurriculars. Like they're like, oh, you got to practice your saxophone, and that leads to a very funny scene where he's like terrible at the saxophone. But then right after Julian plays the piano, he's just mashing keys on the piano,
Yeah.
right? And like later when they're mad at him, he's all like, "Oh, it was an original piece I made."
And I thought it was funny too that Lisa was defending him. Like Lisa was defending Julian. She was like said something about how like, oh, Bach couldn't read, or no, Beethoven couldn't read sheet music when he was that age. It was like
Mm-hmm.
a very like why very strange that character is going to bat for her.
I mean, that led to kind of like my first theory about Julian is actually like Lisa's son.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really wonder if that at one point that was like a plot element that they just kind of dropped, or if that's like maybe the intention is to make us think.
I think this movie is just filled with things that are kind of supposed to just like make you like. I mean, that's what I kind of really like about the movie is that you're not sure where it's going because
Yeah.
they give you so much. Like they get every scene, they kind of give you a little bit more, right? And you're thinking like, oh, it might go this direction, that direction. Like, I mean, would you if you didn't see the trailer, would you have suspected that Julian would have turned into a dog, right?
Yeah, that would have. It's not even like mentioned or foreshadowed. It just happens suddenly.
Right, exactly. It kind of just, I kind of like to be honest, I think I like Julian turning into a dog better in the short than in this movie. Because in the short, like a dog in like they're watching the soccer game, and then like a dog in just like a soccer jersey shows up, and
Yeah.
it's Julian's soccer jersey, and it's kind of like Julian. Oh my god, wait, this must be Julian, right? And then that could be like, wow, they maybe just they easily just lost their child, and his clothes just happened to come on a dog or something, right? Because that kind of fits with the whole she just pretending to be pregnant with a soccer ball.
Yeah.
I kind of yeah, go on.
It's like a fantastical element. Like when Julian falls into the pool, he disappears and like a dog comes out. Like it is explicitly supposed to be him.
He kind of like glows and transitions into a dog, like under the pool. Like he glows for a second.
Yeah, whereas what you were saying, how like, oh, it could have just been like he was abducted and they just like were tricked into thinking their son is a dog.
Yeah, I kind of like that better because that makes sense with the whole that every character in the suburb could be like convinced of the weirdest thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I feel like that could work. Like they could convince themselves that this dog is Julian, right? But it doesn't really like take away too much from the movie, in my opinion. It's just kind of like, I think I like that like slightly better, I guess.
I liked it better in the movie just because we got more scenes with the dad and the dog, and it was every time the dad was on screen, I was having a fucking riot. It was so.
Oh
good.
no! Don't get me wrong; those scenes are hella good.
There's one other scene that like another thing that like fucked me up because I kept thinking about it was when she gets her hair done at the salon like later on, when the hairdresser cuts her hair, blood starts shooting out of the hair like. Spurting out, and
That's
that
so
was another thing where I
weird.
was like, are these aliens like are their hair and their clothes like part of their like body? Well, I mean obviously our hair is part of our body, but like are they like aliens in human form and that's why they're behaving like this?
Are they part of their body like a finger is part of your body, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could also go back to like the dollhouse theory, you know, kind of like how like some dolls have like plastic hair, right? Like it's the same material as what their skin is made out of, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
And it is just me, but later when after like Jill's breakdown and she kidnaps that one child and she's at the diner, when she's like watching the news and Lisa's on the news, is it just me or does Lisa have the same haircut that Jill had when she like
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it feels because it's cut short too. It's cut very similarly. And I was like, oh my god, this is like fully like Lisa has like consumed Jill's life, like she absorbed her, you know.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's really funny too. Like at the very end, she still just like tolerates having Jill around. Like even though she's taken everything from her, she doesn't even like care that Jill is still like around because Jill just doesn't do anything. She doesn't like put up a fight.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like. Maybe this is maybe like okay, so you know how the kids almost look mismatched, right? Like one kid could have been like Julian could have been like Lisa's kid because they're both like blonde, right? But they're not. Maybe this is kind of like this weird way of like that Lisa is smarter than the average person in this suburb, but not like smart enough to like truly fix a problem. Maybe she realized that Julian is her son, so she corrects it not by switching the kids but just by taking Julia's kid at the start by taking her baby, you know. Yeah, so it's like this weird kind of like trying to correct something but in an improper way, and at the end when she like kidnaps like I think it was on purpose that like she kidnaps like a black girl at the end because it's almost like goes back to kind of like having like match parts when it comes to the kids, you know. Right? And the fact that this girl is like just in her pajamas the whole time after she got kidnapped, you know, and she's out there trying to play soccer too. Right? It's just so
Yeah, there's this whole like idea of like treating children as like an accessory.
Yes.
And like they're not really, especially Lisa, like really does not give a shit about her kid. Like one of the whole subplots we didn't really talk about is Lisa's kid, who starts out kind of normal. He sees a bad TV show. He watches Kids with Knives.
Oh yeah.
And he becomes a freaking badass kid. He's cursing all the time. He says fuck to the parents, which I was like, whoa.
He has a bandana too.
There's a really funny scene where they're getting like a family picture taken, and he pulls out a cigarette and a lighter, and like he's about to start smoking, and the dad is like, oh. He like grabs a cigarette from his mouth. It's like, but so that's like the one thing that Lisa like can't control is like her actual kid. And then like later on we're told that he's
because she is a child. Because Lisa is a child.
It's true, because that was the other kind of thing that I kind of felt about the movie was like, is it supposed to be a sort of representation of what children would be like if they were adults, like where they treat like in the beginning when she gives her baby away, it's almost like a toy. It's like you can have it. Like I don't actually want it. But then we see them like, and the other thing too, like the scene with the waiter mimes when they like act like embarrassed children when they break the plates. So it was just like, it's weird though, because like the world operates like there's still like things happening, like the news gets broadcasted, like people like make dinner, so like there are like responsibilities being carried out, but it's almost like everyone's like minds or their personalities are more like juvenile.
I don't think the husbands, they ever state what jobs the husbands work at, right?
Oh my god, I never even thought about that.
Yeah, they don't seem to have any jobs. They just kind of show up in scenes, right?
Yeah, they're always just around, like.
Oh, okay, what do you think about the line? Remember the part where like they take like the kids to like their karate practices, right? And then and then Lisa is talking to Jill, and Jill admits that her and her husband have sex like 5 times a week.
Yeah, and they schedule it.
Yeah, exactly. And like Lisa's kind of distraught that she's not having that much sex with her husband. What do you think about that line? Cause I'm not exactly sure like what are they trying to say besides like another scene of like Lisa jealous of Jill,
I think it's a Lisa jealous scene. I also think it's kind of a joke later when she's pregnant with the soccer ball, when she pretends to be pregnant, and the husband comes over and he's like, wow, you're pregnant. Like, if they haven't been fucking, like, then he would know. Like, right. he would know that something's up. But he doesn't even, he just immediately buys it. He's like, oh yeah, you're pregnant. Like,
maybe to the whole, like, Lisa is actually, like, the kid who runs this dollhouse. Maybe it's just that she doesn't know how sex works, so she wouldn't, like, be having that with her husband. But she knows sex is a thing, so the characters she creates have, like, tons of sex, because that's just an adult thing to do, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting read on it. Like, I think, obviously, there's a lot of, like, the whole satire, too, as well, and, like, what is, like, an ideal woman, like, what is an ideal wife, an ideal mother.
This movie seriously deserves like a rewatch. Like watching it once, I don't think is enough. You need to watch it again because there's probably so much more I miss, and I feel like I'm specifically like have a bunch of like half ideas about this movie.
Yeah, there were so many little like background details. Like, they mention like one thing Lisa says. This, oh my god, I'm thinking more about the Lisa theory that you have now. So Lisa makes an offhand comment because I think there's like an awkward conversation, and Lisa like tries to change the subject quickly, and she's like, "It's getting dark so early this year now," and like 20 minutes later, they just show like a shot of one of like their coffee tables, and there's a newspaper on it, and then the headline says like something about it being darker earlier than normal, like.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which I was like, oh, that's a good little detail.
I was wondering what that one was about. Because, like, are they, like, just talking about daylight savings? Or is there... I don't know, maybe there's something to do with more of the kid angle when, like, I don't know how old you were when you realized the concept of daylight savings. But I do remember there was a time when I realized that, like, damn, it's getting darker sooner. Are the days getting shorter? When I was, like, a kid. And then someone explained to me what daylight savings was, because like maybe because these are supposed to be like a kid playing as an adult, so they wouldn't be so fully aware like daylight savings. Oh man, speaking of the kids, we haven't talked about the classroom scenes. Remember the classroom scenes?
Oh my god, yeah. So I don't know if you've seen The Good Place. Have you seen the show The Good Place?
I am aware of The Good Place.
one of the characters in it, Janet is basically like a supercomputer that knows like everything, but she takes the form of a woman. That's the teacher. The teacher is played by that actress she's wonderful. Which I love in this. So she's the teacher for like second grade, and her name is Miss Human.
Oh yeah, that was very that was interesting. I wonder what they mean by Miss Human. Now that I'm thinking more about the movie, I wonder what the angle is by calling that character Miss Human.
She had a lot of really good gags. Like, I just loved the idea of like you're teaching children about like pioneers going out to the West. Like, yes, and this is all the ways that they died. Like, she just lists off like,
that whole bit was so good. I love the part where it's like right in that scene that you're talking about where she says that she says like, oh, here in this worksheet, write down all the ways pioneers can die and write which one of your family members you think would die that way. and then the kid raises their hands like, does that include us? Like, yes. So which way they think they would die if they were a fucking pioneer? Holy shit.
Yeah, it is so funny. And like the scene when the first classroom scene after Julian gets turned into a dog, and Julian just like has to still keep going to school as a dog.
Oh
so
yeah.
Jill like brings him and she like stands him up on the desk. It's so funny. Like I just love that. Like like I love like this world that just like accepts these weird things. It just makes like for really interesting scenes, and like as we talked about, but like how things develop and move further on. Like it's just really good. I'm really impressed by this movie. I'm kind of sad to see that this duo hasn't done anything since.
I mean,
at least not like released anything.
I mean, what happened right after this movie came out? A pandemic, so
it's true. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. And I wonder, like, I really don't know what their history is. I saw
like they were. Yeah, go on.
I saw they've like have been, like kind of like in like the LA comedy scene a bit. Like they were on a few episodes of the Comedy Bang Bang like TV show, and they seem to like kind of run in those circles. So I really would like to see more from them. I think they have a really interesting voice.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think both of them were like writers for that Amy Schumer show.
Oh really?
That was on. Yeah, they both seem to be like started out as comedy writers. It seems like it. They both kind of done separate like projects on like different things. Jocelyn was like, wait, what's Thunder Road? Okay, no, she was part of. I think she acted in a movie called Thunder Road, which also has Jim Cummings, who was also in this movie. I think.
Oh really?
Jim Cummings was Rob. I think Rob was the divorcee dad.
Oh, the cowboy dad.
Yeah, the cowboy dad. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Okay, it's the name of the husbands are Nick and Dennis. Were the name of the husbands.
Yeah, Dennis is the male wife. Nick is the one that's obsessed with pool water.
And Julian and I think Robert, but I think the kid is called Bob in the.
Yeah, I remember them calling him Bob.
Yeah, I do want them to make more like I don't know if like stuff like this, but maybe stuff with the same energy, you know. I can't remember the last movie that had like such like stilted, like very like sincere, but also kind of almost meta ironic, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, to throw around buzzwords.
I also appreciate that it wasn't like a quote unquote A24 movie. As much as I love A24 movies, they've definitely started to like kind of fall into like a mold, and I feel like a lot of movies are kind of made with that in mind. Of like that kind of dark comedy, supernatural horror-y thing.
What's the name of that one? The new one that's coming out. The one that's like it's called Man or something. It's just called Guy.
I think I literally heard about it like today for the first time, so I'm not exactly sure.
Or it's called Men. Yeah, it's called Men. And if you watch the trailer, it's like this. It's like. It's the typical A24 spooky trailer. There's a woman, there's a tunnel, and it's like dark, and she's like in a house, and the title's like Men. That was good. That sounds pretty good. I heard that Sheep was like almost like it felt like a generic. It felt like how people think like these kind of A24 typical the Ari Aster kind of flicks. Like Sheep is like the weird kind of like what's the word? I guess like the generic one. I guess I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
It's kind of like, I mean, as much as I love art house horror, like I feel like A24 definitely is kind of in more of that art house horror kind of thing. I'm looking at like their.
They did Uncut Gems. They did all the. They did both. They did like I think 2 of the Safdie brother movies, which was Good Times and Uncut Gems.
Yeah, they certainly. I mean, they don't only do horror. It's just like, I don't know.
I think they're a distributing company, but they
yes.
did a very smart thing with like they make it seem like they're the ones who are like producing these movies when they're not. They're just distributing them.
Yeah,
But,
they made a very clever, like the way they've chosen their movies. They've almost make it seem like they have a style. When you're right, they are just the distribution company.
I'm trying to.
Or at least they were. Now they are doing things now. Like I know they're doing the Has Been Hotel series.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to look for the art director. You keep talking. I'm looking for the art director for Greener Grass.
But yeah,
Okay.
so I just appreciate that this wasn't like a not to shit on as like A24. Like obviously there's a lot of diversity in those movies in type, but yeah, I like seeing I like being really impressed with like a small indie that I have not heard about. Like it feels really nice.
True. Yeah. So the art director and cinematographer haven't done anything too outstanding. This is also this art director was also the art director for Fast and the Furious 9. That's interesting. I mean, they did a really good job on this one. Yep. So, is there? I guess I guess did we just say our final thoughts, or do you actually have any final thoughts you want to talk about?
I honestly don't really. I mean, I feel like I just really enjoyed this movie. I really liked how just weird it was. The aesthetic choice is really creepy. The whole braces thing is inherently creepy, and it was a very good like kind of just constant thing. You almost get used to it after a while. But yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, same here. Oh, I love that the movie doesn't explain stuff to you.
Oh, it's so good. Oh,
Yeah.
I love when movies don't explain things.
Yeah, because even the whole like you kind of like visually just piece together that Julian like wets himself a lot. Like they never say that like, oh Julian, you wet yourself again. No, they it's like very like the first time it happens you see it, and then the second time they talk about like a beanbag chair being ruined by Julian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like she comes to the school with a whole pack of like underwear for Julian because he does it constantly, right?
Yeah.
Right, but they don't spell it out for you. They don't spell out nothing for you, and that's so good. I want more movies. Like, you know what? You can only do that with like indies. You can't do
Yeah.
that with mainstream movies because you have to over explain everything for a mainstream audience.
People get
Right.
furious. I remember having like an argument with my friend one time about like I can't remember what movie it was, but like the whole idea of like having a scene. It's such a trope now, like having like the James Bond gets his weapons scene where it's like, oh, you have to have like every single like gadget explained to you, and like they literally just like, James Bond, this thing is a laser that points it this way.
James Bond, this is a penis gun. You put it in your penis and you shoot her pussy. Yeah, like that. I know what scene you're talking about. Yeah.
But I was just saying, like, I think I saw like a modern like Marvel movie or something that had it, and I was saying like I hate those scenes, and my friend's like, what? You just want like random shit to happen? And I was like, yes.
Oh
Like,
God, I love it when motherfuckers give you like the extreme example, right? It's unironically that whole Twitter thing where it's like, oh, I love pancakes. Oh, what are you saying? You hate waffles now? They go to the extreme. Like that's a whole different fucking other sentence, motherfucker. Oh my God. Anyway, Greener Grass is good. It's Kino. It's no. Our word is gonna be cinema. We're gonna say cinema. That's gonna be
Cinema.
our word. It's
yeah,
cinema.
I don't like the word kino just because it's like
It's overdone.
It is. It's overdone. It also just means theater. I guess cinema literally also just means theater. So
Right. No, too many like dumbasses who don't like really think too hard about movies use the phrase a lot. I'm calling them all out. Everyone who says Kino in their fucking podcast or YouTube channels are getting called out right now.
I mean, any slang that comes from 4chan is inherently like virgin core.
True. Yeah, true. That's why I don't say base no more.
No, but I love based.
I still say base. I call everything pilled.
I do love the pilled.
Have you been greener grass pilled? Is this film?
I've been greener grass pilled, yeah.
Are you pool water pilled?
Yes. Oh, I'm totally pool water pill. Next time I go to a pool, all I'm gonna think about is drinking that delicious water.
I won't stop thinking about it when I go to the fucking next pool. Summer's coming up pretty soon, so
Yeah.
get ready, scoop up with them jugs for your pool water, guys.
It is just like, this literally one of my favorite jokes I've seen in a movie for a very long time. Like, just how excited he is about drinking pool water is so fucking funny.
All right, so yeah, before we end, Jim, you go ahead and chill all your stuff right here.
Oh yeah. So you can follow me on Twitter at King Protus.
It'll be off screen.
Yeah, it's on screen. Do you see it right there? You see it right there? All right, animate me pointing at it. Pointing at it right there.
Anything else you want me to animate you doing? I'll do it all. I swear. I promise I'll do everything you tell me right now. I'll animate it on screen.
Animate me kissing 100 babes, and they all look different. They all have different heights and different they're different sizes and shapes. I'm
gonna animate you as Jill and me as Lisa. and you're like, I'm like, oh, I love your podcast, Jim, and you're like, oh, you want it? Here, you can take it. No, but they're your fans. Like, no, they're just my fans because I've been there since the start. Like,
but yeah, I also do a little podcast called Joe Kakaka. Right now we're kind of in between. Normally we cover the JoJo manga monthly, but right now there's kind of a hiatus, which we think might be ending soon. We think they might be announcing the new part of JoJo soon. So
JoJo Land.
JoJo Lands, yes. So
are you gonna rename the podcast when that happens?
For SEO purposes, no.
Damn. Well, that's fine. And y'all know me, Cheesymanfredo. This is my channel. I think I'm treating this channel mostly as like a podcast factory now. So any like little idea I come up with. I always have a new episode of my podcast, Main Character Syndrome, every Friday. I decided that right now that's gonna happen. I'm doing a weekly podcast. Jim is actually on the first episode of that weekly podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you just go to my channel and you just see the thumbnail that says that has a picture of Scoob from Scoob and Shag and it says suck on it. Jim's on that episode.
Suck.
Oh god, yeah. I fucking been love. I just love doing like those types of thumbnails where it's like a very like weird strong statement. They've been kind of working. I've noticed. This next episode of Main Character Syndrome, the thumbnail is gonna be a picture of Coco the gorilla, and then it's gonna be big red text that say didn't exist on the screen. It's true. Yeah, it's true. She's not real. It was animatronics. It was puppetry. All right, so yeah, that's it for the Cheesy Cinema Club. We might do this again, maybe.
Hey, I'm always down to do these. I always like watching a movie and talking about it. You
could pick the next movie. I picked The Greener Grass.
All right.
Yeah, you just find yourself another piece of fine cinema. That you think we could both like deep dive into, and then we'll talk about it.
All right, we'll be returning to the Czech New Wave. No, I'm kidding. Unless.
Yeah, if you want, just whatever. I don't care. I got a lot of free time.
Hell yeah. I don't, but I will find time.
All right, excellent. All right, guys. This has been the Cheesy Cinema Club signing off.